You know what I feel like we don't talk about enough? Um, the fact that when you're like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, like just late teens to early 20s, clean this lens. You're not you, you're not a grown up. You are not a grown up. And I'm not talking about in the context of like talking down to the upcoming younger generation. Um, and be like, oh, you're a kid and you don't fucking know anything. You're fucking stupid. Like, I'm not talking about that context. Like, I'm speaking as a 29-year-old who literally just turned 29, is knocking on the door of 30 next year, and is looking back on my life and realizing how not an adult I have been up to this point, like how young I was in making certain decisions in my life, and making and just talking to people in that age group and making them feel that it's okay that you're not a grown up, and just basically trying to make them feel better, honestly, that you have time, because society rushed us to grow up. We know this, but let's really deep dive into this, because apparently something crazy like your brain is not actually done developing until like 27 or some shit, which for me personally, I'm like, okay, yeah, checks out, because the last 2 years are the probably my most like are probably the years where I feel like I've done the most developing into who I'm gonna permanently be, or like some semblance of like mental stability in dealing with PTSD and anxiety and stuff. But that's not what society wants. Our society does not give a fuck if we're like, self-actualized adults eventually down the road. I feel like the aim of the system we live in is to make us productive members of the machine as quickly as possible, which is why they start asking us sophomore year of high school, when we are fucking 15, 16, about what the fuck we want to do for the rest of our lives. 15, 16. Your reproductive organs are just like figuring out like what the fuck to do and what they're there for, and your brain is trying to reconcile all sorts of fucking chemistry. You don't have a car, but yet you're supposed to decide what the fuck you're supposed to do and what you're gonna be for the rest of your life? How the fuck does that make any sense? And add on, like, if you're someone who joined the military, and I love it when people, on both ends of the aisle, both very leftist and very fucking right wing, are like, you shouldn't have joined if you didn't know what you were getting yourself into, or you knew what the fuck you were yourself into. I'm like, no, I fucking didn't. I was a child. I was a child when I signed the contract to go into the military. Because we all have this pressure to figure out what the fuck we're going to do for the rest of our lives around the same point, which is like 14, 15, 16. And two, very often the military targets, kids that come from broken homes and need somewhere to belong to. And they really, really exploit that very much. And three, because I was one of those kids, very often the military is the most immediate and surefire way to get out of a bad home and have a secure future. But again, whether it's military, whether it's what college you go to, you are a child when you're being asked to make these decisions. So if at any point it falls to shit around 18 or around 2021, sometime after graduation, or on your first job, if at any point it falls to shit, I don't think that we should be making people in that age group feel so fucking bad because you are still a baby trying to make it in an adult world. You are a child cosplaying as an adult and you are literally just trying to function in the rules that have been set for adulthood with a child's mind, and you can only do so well. Honestly, you can really only do so well. Some people are fortunate enough to figure out what they want to do very early on in life, and they do that from that point forward. Some people are lucky enough to do that. Some people are lucky enough to find their soulmate in high school. I am one of those people, but just statistically, my marriage should not work, bro. I met my husband in AP US history junior fucking year. We got married when we were knocking on 22. When I was knocking on 22. Statistically, that is not something that typically just works. I'm very grateful and I'm very glad that it works. I'm just saying that if you don't have everything together by the time you're 24, 23, 24, 25, your early 20s, it's okay. It's completely okay. Like I want to approach this from the context of fucking sympathy and realism and the fact that society does not care about you taking your time to be the best version of yourself that you can be. They just want to make you a functioning member of the machine as quickly as possible. And I feel in that we forget certain probably scientific facts that at the point that we are traditionally kicked the fuck out of our parents' houses to go find our own way, we are not grown up yet. We are children. And it's not like we live in the Middle Ages, ancient Rome, Bible times, Civil War times, or whatever, where 13-year-olds were colonels in the Union Army and shit like that because shit was hard. Like, no. If you live in the same socioeconomic bubble that I might or I do, and the fact that you are watching this probably means that you have access. Well, it does mean that you have access to internet. You might have access to a smartphone, a computer. Like, depending on where you live, this is probably the best time to be alive in history ever. And we can absolutely like take the time to figure our shit out and take our time becoming adults. And it's not to say like you shouldn't go to college when you're 18, or you shouldn't, try anything after high school. I'm just saying that, like, if things don't go exactly according to a specific plan, like, number one, that's life. Number two, you're a kid. You are a child, and if you feel bad because you don't feel grown up enough, that's not your fault. It's because you literally aren't one yet. And the circumstances under which we live in force all of us to cosplay as adults much sooner than we truly have to. So again, not to talk down on anyone younger than me. I'm just saying, like, guys, I just turned 29. And I am just now, like, looking around my apartment and being like, wow, this is my apartment. Like, wow, I have a backyard. Like, wow, I have this. Like, wow, I'm a grown up. Like, wow, I might think of having kids in a few years. Like, I literally just finally mentally got to that point where I'm like, yeah, I could see myself having kids. I'm actually ready for that conversation. But up until that point, like, I knew that, like, I wanted to do those grown up things and have kids and everything. But it seemed like, again, I was cosplaying as an adult. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like something a grown-up would do, which is not something that I fucking am. And I'm just now getting to the cusp of that, and I'm 29. So if you are feeling like that, or if you are feeling just not ready, and you are any younger than me, I just want to say that it's okay. It's okay. They completely neglected to tell us exactly when it is that you actually start to figure things out and start having, like, feeling like your shit is together, like brain wise. They completely neglected that because they don't care about us. They completely neglected that because they don't care. They just want us to work for them, whoever they are. The government, big business, corporation, capitalism, whatever. They just wanted us to become part of the workforce as quickly as possible, and completely neglected our psychological growth and self-actualization, and decided to, instead of nurturing us and helping us along our way, to make us feel bad if we were not functioning members of the machine or functioning well enough by the time we were 22 or 23, and then hoping that that guilt would just push us to try even harder to be better adults, which would probably make us fall apart, but who cares, because it just means that they're getting more work and effort out of us. It's okay. It's okay. At least as far as Nikki Marina is concerned, I'm telling you, as I've been on the, as some of you may have been watching me for about 2 years now, I am just now, right now, starting to feel like a grown up. Truly. And so, if you are in the age group below me, I just want you to know it's okay. If you're lost and you're fumbling, it's okay. It's completely okay. And there's time. There's time for us to figure this out. There is. It's going to be okay. Don't feel bad. Don't let them make you feel bad. It's a fucking lie. It's a fucking ruse. They curved the test scores. They curved the test scores. Okay? There's no reason why, like, oh, you can't smoke, you can't drink, and you can barely drive, but you can sign up for the military? Fuck out of here. Like, can't rent a car without all this extra fucking paperwork, but you can pay tens of thousands of dollars to a school to give you a degree that's probably going to be useless, but you have to use this to determine what the fuck you're going to be for the rest of your life. Fuck out of here. Go fuck yourself.